Grammy-winning musician Charlton Singleton will bring his friends to the Charleston Music Hall this Saturday to bring you some holiday music. I talk one-on-one with Charlton for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Charlton Singleton, welcome back to the award-winning Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thanks for having me, bro. Award-winning is right. Congrats on all of your success, man.
Thank you so much. And same to you, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. As a matter of fact, you are a husband, a father, a Grammy-winning musician, Ranky Tanky, of course, and you're active in free fraternities. Let me ask you this, Charlton. What song title would you give yourself right now to describe your life?
You know what? Actually, lately I've been listening to a song called "Optimistic" by Sounds of Blackness, and the words that everybody usually recognize with that song is "As long as you keep your head to the sky," and I've always been deeply rooted in faith, in my Christianity faith. And my parents have always taught me to keep the faith, to walk the walk as best I can, and that's just what keeps me, going. Faith that God has me on the right path, and I just continue to go with that path, and wherever He leads, I'll go. And we'll just keep it like that, keep it moving.
And when you put your head up to the sky, figuratively, what do you see?
Oh man, I just like to entertain. I like to. I've been very blessed to have been exposed to great entertainment over my career. Been exposed to great musicians, great leaders. Thanks to so many people, starting with my folks, starting with them, my siblings, my wife and kids. Just everything has always been very positive, and just staying forward. So keeping that straight path, looking forward, looking up to the sky, and just going off of the faith in God. That's how you roll.
Absolutely.
That's how I roll.
Oh, yes, indeed. Absolutely. And how do you go forward with your music in 2021?
Well, with the pandemic, it has been a challenge for everyone, of course. Everyone has their own set of challenges per their life. For me as a performing musician, it has been, tough, as I'm used to being out on tour and performing in front of crowds. Sometimes it's small atmospheres, which is not good. Sometimes it's big atmospheres where there's a lot of people, which is not good. I was very fortunate enough in the summer, on July 3rd, I released a solo project, and so that was able to keep me as a solo artist sort of in the conversation for a while. Very fortunate that the first single off of that album actually got on satellite radio. So if you're listening to the Watercolors channel on Sirius satellite radio, you might hear one of my songs. It's entitled Sea Breeze, and so that. And then with the combination of that and a few other little things that have popped up, some venues have started to reopen with socially distanced, crowds. Their venues are a lot smaller in capacity. We've been able to get back in there just a little bit, but the majority of the things have been rescheduled for 2021, and there again, we're optimistic that we will be able to be back out there touring safely.
And what is the conversation about music these days?
Well, it just depends on who you ask. Music nowadays, there's so many styles that are coming together, and I like to use the term genre blending. Like for example, with Ranky Tanky,
Yes.
we have we have elements of what people know as jazz and gospel or spiritual music and folk music, some rhythm and blues. So it's a good mix of a lot of different things, and a lot of times when you have that mix, like it is, it's hard to put someone in a category like that. As a matter of fact, a good friend of ours, and I say he's a good friend of ours because Gregory Porter is one of the most famous, singers out there. He's won 2 Grammys in the jazz vocal category. He is now nominated in the rhythm in the R&B category. But before he was Gregory Porter, as the world knows him, he was playing with our guitarist Clay Ross, in New York City. They used to do weekly gigs together. But Gregory's music is such a weird thing to categorize. It's not sort of the traditional jazz stuff that you hear. It's not sort of the traditional R&B of today that you would hear. But it's good music. And anytime you could just have good music, I think that's what everybody just wants to hear. Something that's good, something that's going to pique their interest, something that's going to make them feel good, something that they can remember, something that they can sing along to, something that they can recognize, relate to. I look at the music of Ranky Tanky as being that. We play songs, we have written songs, and we have interpreted some of the older Gala songs and melodies and things that we think they're pretty universal themes for everyone. Like, for example, lately everybody's been playing the song Freedom, which is on the Grammy Award winning, recording Good Time. And Freedom is just a song that I think everyone on the earth can somehow get a piece of that song and just relate to. Everybody wants, it could be a freedom from candy, from sweets. It could be a freedom from some sort of oppressive situation. It could be, everybody wants to have some sort of freedom, and songs like that, just, we pride ourselves in having material and music that can be relatable to just about everybody and every different style of music.
What material will you be using next as a group, Ranky Tanky?
Oh, we'll still be doing that same formula of Gullah. It all starts with Gullah. I mean, that's the basis for everything, in more ways than people probably understand and know. But that's always going to be the basic, the ground, foundation for us, and everything else that we do on top of that in our interpretations, or whether it's us writing new material like Freedom or Beat 'em Down or All for You, some of the songs that we've written as a band, they still have the Gullah spirit, when we compose them, when we arrange and we perform it. There's still that Gullah spirit along with it. So that's always going to be the basic.
Basic. And what other themes are you all interpreting right now?
Well, right now, we're just sort of going, day to day, month to month, week, like everyone else. As popular as the album has gotten, and I say album because you can actually get an album now. We have LPs now.
Oh, yes.
But as popular as it is, and with us winning that Grammy in January, the record still is only just a little over a year old, so it's still relatively new. And while just as musicians, we write material all the time. We haven't been together in the same room, obviously,
Right.
a lot to actually put a lot of that, new material together that maybe Kiana wrote a song or Clay wrote a song or some of the material that I've written. So that stuff hasn't necessarily developed. We have ideas and things that we bounce off of each other and send back and forth. But for us to be in the same room and to actually work on that, that's still yet to come because of the pandemic that we're in. Yeah.
And you talk about the pandemic that we're in. I got to take you to obviously Saturday, Charlton Singleton's Holiday Spectacular, Saturday,
Hmm.
December 5th at 8 p.m., right around the corner here at the Charleston Music Hall. Why
Right.
Charlton Singleton? Why a music hall?
Well, back in 2016, we did a performance, and this was me and Kiana, and it was basically Kiana's sort of working band, a great group of musicians around town. And we augmented the band with some background singers and some horn players and everything. And in 2016, we did a performance of the music of Prince to celebrate, the music and since his passing. And it was a very successful show that sold out. And so we were asked to do a reprise of it. That first show was in June of 2016, and we did a reprise of it in for Moja Arts Festival. Excuse me. And so ever since then, we've averaged doing 2 shows a year, and at the music hall. And Charles Carmody last year, he said, "Well, you've done, Prince and Stevie Wonder and Whitney Houston and Earth, Wind and Fire. How about do a holiday show?" And so we did a holiday show last year, and it was fantastic, and we got a lot of support and a lot of great feedback. And so he said, "Well, let's try and do another one this year." Now, with the pandemic and the protocols and everything that you have to follow, the music hall just reopened about a month and a half ago or so, maybe a month ago, and I happened to be playing, with another artist at the hall, and I was able to see firsthand on what they have been doing in order to make it a safe environment. And it is really, really, really good the way that they have it set up.
Yes.
You can go online and you can buy tickets at charlestonmusichall.com. And when you purchase a ticket, it gives you a specific time, or you can pick a time for you to actually enter the building. So it's not just a mad rush of people
Right.
all congregating. So that's a good protocol. The whole place is spaced out. You've got, instead of, having the full capacity, I mean, that place very discreetly holds just over 900 people, but there's only 250 tickets available. A lot less now because we've been selling, but we still encourage everybody to go and look for tickets. But the 250 capacity, you're able to spread people out so you're not jammed in there together. So that's always a good risk. Even when it's time to exit the building, there's a certain way to exit the building so that everybody is still safe. Masks and everything. I mean, it's really, they've done a really good job to make sure that their patrons and consumers and anybody that comes in there feel safe, and also, of course, have a good time with live music. Even the band on stage will be all spaced out and everything. So it's really, really, really good.
That's so amazing. And what exactly will be spectacular about this holiday event?
Well, we have. I'm very fortunate that I get to share the stage with some of the greatest musicians, and I'm not just saying that as because they're my friends or anything. They are really top-notch, in-demand musicians. If you look at the resume of all of these musicians, like of course, there's Kiana. There's folks like Demetrius Doctor, who's producing albums for world-class musicians. There's Mike Brown, who I don't think, of course, they're not traveling this year, but usually Councilman Mike Brown, he takes a group over to Europe every just about every Christmas time, and they just play to standing room only, audiences in these huge auditoriums, and and venues and everything. We've got people that have been on tour with, famous musicians after famous musician after famous musician. So it's really a top-notch band. And in addition to doing holiday favorites, we have a lot of songs that are very uplifting and inspirational, not necessarily gospel per se, but very inspirational, which I think is something that we could all use during this time.
Absolutely. And obviously, the music hall said this too. In addition to the holiday favorites, the repertoire for the evening will also include some of the bands of the favorite songs, which you just mentioned to uplift. Which band resembles you in your art?
With this band, this particular band, I think, you know what we're doing. We're doing a song by a band called Sounds of Blackness. Sounds of Blackness is a very popular. Um, I guess most people recognize them as a gospel group, but Sounds of Blackness sings jazz, R&B, gospel, folk. They sing a whole bunch of stuff. They were introduced to the world by the great Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. And they have a song called Optimistic, which I think is just really should be the theme of this holiday show that we're doing. And like I was talking about that song earlier,
Right.
that's just the song that's been playing. It's kind of been the soundtrack for me, with this pandemic. As long as you keep your head to the sky,
Yes.
be optimistic.
Absolutely. And obviously, it says this too from the music hall, from R&B to jazz and pop to classical, and stops along the way. The tradition of the fantastic musical evening with this group will continue. How will you keep that tradition going 5, 10 years from now?
Well, there's a lot of great music out there, and one of the strengths of this group of musicians is that we all individually and collectively love so many different styles. So we've been able to do the music of Prince and the music of Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder and Earth, Wind and Fire. We did a show that was nothing but 80s music. We did a show that was nothing but 90s music.
Wow.
And so with so much out there and so many genres that you can choose from, and so many superstars and so many songs and so many singles and so many albums, we'll always have material to choose from. And like I said, I think because people just like to hear good music, we're able to do an 80s show where we could start off the night, by doing a song by Journey, and then turning around and doing some Lionel Richie, and then turn around and do some Rick James, and then turn around and do some Phil Collins, and then turn around and do, a 90s show with like, Return of the Mac or Jodeci,
Right.
followed by Hootie and the Blowfish.
Yes.
So the versatility of the band is really, really unique and really superior. So we'll always be able to come up with some sort of show that I think the public will enjoy.
And obviously, and I'm a huge fan of the '90s R&B, and I listen to it today. But let me talk to you, obviously, about what you told Terry Bates this morning, because you said that when it comes to Ranky Tanky, you obviously you all have known each other as a band for 20 years. What
Mhm.
have you learned more about the band now that you didn't know 20 years ago?
Oh wow, that's kind of hard. Now just to clarify, we weren't Ranky Tanky 20
Right,
years ago.
right.
But when you travel together as much as we've been traveling over the course of the Ranky Tanky life, as the band Ranky Tanky since about 2016. You do learn, other things about folks, about, oh, I didn't know you liked that song, or oh, I didn't know you knew that song, or oh, you like that artist so much, or I didn't know that you were into ballet that much. I didn't know that you were into classical music that much, or something like that. But again, that goes to show what about the versatility of all of the musicians in Ranky Tanky, all of the musicians in the Charlton Singleton and Friends group that's going to be playing on Saturday. Um, I chuckled one time because I heard the bassist in the band is a guy named Levante Green, And Vonnie, one time he did a cover of Big Shot um, by I just forgot the guy. Just such a big shot, the big Billy Joel.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Billy Joel. And it was great, and and just it's good music. And I think, like I said, it just trumps everything when you have good music. Everybody can relate to just pure good music. Duke Ellington is very famous for saying that there's only two kinds of music out there in the world: good music and bad music. And I think everybody that really likes good music and a good song, you know, you can just get with that. I was watching a clip of Tyler Perry doing Medea,
Right.
and of all people, gosh, his name just escaped me. The guy that sings Tennessee Whiskey.
uh,
You're as smooth. Yeah, Chris Stapleton.
yes.
That was my wife just gave me the
Oh,
assistant.
yes.
Chris Stapleton was in the audience at a Medea show,
Oh, yeah.
and they recognized him out there, and they handed him the mic,
Yes.
and you had all of these people singing Tennessee Whiskey. Now, that technically is a country music song,
Right.
and you've got an arena, probably of 2 or 3 thousand people, probably, majority, African American, but they are just singing at the top of their lungs because it's good music.
Sure.
And whenever you have good music, that's gonna just take everything else out of the play. Everybody can recognize good music.
Absolutely. You
Mhm.
talk about country music. Would you ever dabble in that as an artist?
Of course, of course, of course. Some of the greatest tunes out there, come from, the country music side. Don't forget, like, um, you know, uh, I Will Always Love You, made
Yes.
famous probably by Whitney Houston, or at least mega hit,
Right.
but written by Dolly Parton and performed by Dolly Parton,
That's
who
right.
is arguably one of the greatest country music artists ever.
Right.
Um, so absolutely, our own homeboy here, Darius Rucker, does
Yes.
very well, and Darius just sings good songs.
Right.
So absolutely, I wish someone would write me some country music to sing. I'm working on it too. One of my best friends, who's a band leader of mine. His name is Patrick Davis. He's from Camden, South Carolina, and he has written music for just a whole bunch of people from like Darius, like um, you know, just a ton of great music stars out there. And I should ask him to write me an album, or something.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but absolutely, country music is where it's at too, man. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely. And coming back to Ranky Tanky, what does Ranky Tanky mean to you these days?
Oh, well, it still means to work it. That's really what Ranky Tanky means. That's the slang. If you look at the song Ranky Tanky and go to our first album, the self-titled, um, the title track Ranky Tanky, it's actually a kids game. And in the song, it says, pain in my head, Ranky Tanky, pain in my hands, Ranky Tanky, pain in my feet. You work it out. You work
Yes.
out whatever that pain is. And yeah, it's one of those classic, kids games of like, everybody thinks of patty cake, but that whole thing about clapping on 2 and 4 and doing patty cake, that's
Right.
uniquely Gullah. It
Yes.
really is. That's not a lie. That's uniquely Gullah, and we don't think about things like that, or we don't know the backstory to how some of these things happen. But that's uniquely Gullah. But Ranky Tanky is we are just a quintet of family that enjoys playing good music, enjoys celebrating where we're from, celebrating the music that we have grown up with, the music that was passed on to us, the music that is still in the Low Country, going up and down the coast of the Gullah Geechee corridor from the southern part of North Carolina to the top of Florida. We're just celebrating that music as best we could and paying homage to it and being respectful to it, all in the same bunch.
And how do you, I know this might be a silly question, but how do you preserve Gala with your music?
Oh, well, you definitely have to keep certain elements. The Gullah rhythm is always going to be present in our song, whatever it is, fast song, slow song, medium song, that's always going to be present, because that is the foundation of it all. And with Quintin on the drums and Kevin, anchoring it, as Quintin says, partners in time, being in the rhythm section, um, that feel, that beat, that heartbeat of the community will always be in every song. You can pick it out of just about every song. Um, so that's the one thing that's always going to be present.
Oh, that's so amazing. Very amazing. Well, Grammy winning musician Charlton Singleton, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close Ups.
Absolutely, bro. Thank you for having me again. Anytime, just hit me up.
I definitely will. You're very welcome anytime.